Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome back to another episode of Top Tier Talk. This week, after the Champions League, Milan is blue for the first leg after they take a 2-0 win back to the San Siro. KDB rescues a point in Madrid for Man City as they go back to the Etihad. United beat Wolves, and what a 2 weeks it was for Chelsea. Last week they confirmed their place in the Premier League for next season, and this week they fight back for a point against Forest, and POCH is their new manager. But we'll start with United, so Chavez, take it away.
Yeah, 2-0 win. I think like one of the games that involved more goals with Wolves. Usually it's either 0-0 or 1-0. So it was good to see a second goal. Pretty boring match. I thought we weren't that great, quite uninspiring. And Wolves offered nothing, which is usually the case every year. Every year it's the same. They have a boring start, bring on Adama, and it gets interesting. But even he did like nothing this game. So yeah, I can see why the manager Lopetegui he's struggling because the players aren't, I think, as good as some other teams in and around the same frame. But yeah, aside from that, we just got the job done. Shout out to, I said I know player ratings, our defense. The fact that we've secured the Golden Glove as a club is just incredible. And De Gea has obviously made some saves here and there, but he doesn't deserve it this year. And it just shows how good like Martinez, Varane, all these defenders have been. And the most important thing is that when defenders have gone out like Martinez and Varane, the ones that have come in, Lindelof and Shaw, have been brilliant. And that's where the difference happened. That's why we ended up with this Golden Glove. Our backups did well. Wan-Bissaka has been underrated this season. He's been very consistent. Malacia's had a few good performances in big games. Aside from obviously Europe. And yeah, shout out to them. Casemiro, obviously a big difference as well. We haven't had a DM in years, and we finally have one. So yeah, good to see. Attackers need to improve. Anthony, he has listened definitely to what we've been saying. He's a very different and direct player now. He's just got no end product at the moment, and hopefully he can improve on that. Sancho is just it's what annoys us, I think, us as a fan base about Sancho is that he just doesn't look like he's trying, but it's because he plays zero risk and he's more suited to a possession-based team that doesn't need a player running at defenders. So the problem is right now that we're not there yet, quite clearly. And an actual perfect Ten Hag team would involve that. So maybe going forward, Sancho would be better off. He needs runners off him rather than running on defenders himself. But right now, he just looks so out of place. And Garnacho obviously came back. Great to see his ovation. He looks like he's the future number 7. The way he was treated by the fans yesterday, it felt like a turning point. Didn't know he was that loved. And then when he scored, obviously the stadium went off. So yeah, good to see.
You think Anthony's been your best attacker in recent games?
Oh, absolutely. He's our biggest threat. Yeah, he's like our biggest threat, and he just doesn't give up. Like he will always track back. He always runs about. He's got the as they say, the dog in him. He doesn't care about beef, even though he's about 5'3". He doesn't mind. Yeah, and Rashford's been off it as well. I know he didn't play yesterday, so Anthony's definitely stepped up big time. He's not a flop, by the way. I don't like how people say he's flop of the season or he's in those teams. It's his first season in the Premier League. You can't really. There's so many players have had a bad first season and gone on to do incredible. Anthony's probably had a better first season than Grealish first season, and Grealish was a Premier League player. So,
do you think?
Who do you think then? Speaking of flop of the season, boys, who is flop of the season? Do you reckon?
It's a fantastic question.
Putting you on the spot a bit.
As much as we all love, it's so hard to pick a player that's. Is there a player that transferred from a Premier League team to another Premier League team this season and failed? Because I think that's
Sterling.
Yeah,
maybe Sterling. Top assist or top goal scorer.
Yeah, but that's not hard though, is it? Like Enzo was your top away assist with like 2 assists.
Because I don't want to say Darwin Nunez, but also what happened to Bissouma?
Injured.
Bissouma, Premier League signing, no? And then he just look at him.
Yeah,
could be Raheem Sterling actually. Cucurella. It's Cucurella. Cool.
Was he signed last summer? I was thinking it, but I thought it was the year before.
Yeah, it's Cucurella. Easy.
Yeah, and then again, Premier League to Premier League, going into technically a better team, but yeah
under the same manager as well.
Literally, like he had no real effect to his career by making the move, and he just faltered.
But speaking of transfers, just obviously before we move on, do you think it's a case of working with what you've got, or like United, obviously, do you reckon it's working with what you've got over the summer, or do you reckon it's just throw money at someone?
No, we've got to work with what we've like the links to Neymar. Of course, no one wants to reject Neymar, but we did get Ronaldo, and our project did kind of get ruined. You have to kind of get players that fit your system. I mean, look at what Brighton are doing right now. Even where are we? We're in May, and they're already signing the next batch. The Hood. He's one, and they've signed James Milner's a very clever signing, get experience in. There was another signing they made, I can't remember, And
Yeah.
I don't like how we don't move quickly, but this is what happens when you don't get new owners. We need to do this quickly because I want us to start signing players. Last year, our issue was that we hadn't got our manager, and Ten Hag was going to come in the summer. Now this year, we've got the stupid problem of owners, so we're never one step ahead, are we? There's always other teams that have got a player ready to go, signed, whatever, and we're
You
just
got
there waiting till the last day. Yeah, you've got Nkunku, and even Liverpool look like they're about to get McAllister. Look at Real Madrid; they're already on Jude Bellingham. That's going to happen. So that's how quick you need to be with these players. And if we want to get the players that we want, then we should be not leaving it to the last second, because then you end up doing shit like buying out Weghorst on the last day, stuff like that, like Igalo on the last day. That's what happens, and you get
Igalo was a
done
great
for
signing.
money. You get done for money as well. Like it's when it comes down to the last minutes, you become desperate, and the clubs take more money from you. So this is why. And to be fair, one thing I will say, like it looks very likely that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to be the new owner of Man United. And for the people who are treating him like he's some indie, like okay, I don't want to put a race to it, but some guy who owns a corner shop, he's not. He's got 4 times the worth of Roman Abramovich. He's not an idiot. But so anything's better for me than the Glazers. The only issue people have is that it wouldn't be fully Glazers out because they'd still have shares in the club. Albeit that the shares wouldn't be enough to make any decisions
They were minimal,
whatsoever.
weren't
Yeah, minimal. So, and I think there would be a clause in place for them to slowly get completely removed by like a few years. So it's not the end of the world for all the people getting depressed. I see people getting death threats when they say that they back Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I don't see the point in that. It's not like we're talking about getting a guy off the street to own Man United versus a billionaire. They're both billionaires. Obviously, there's a big difference, but it's not the end of the world. Chill out. The main focus is Glazers out. It's Glazers out.
I think
the
you've got
end
one of the
goal.
most horrible fan bases, to be honest. So
Oh, because we don't have one fan base. We have about 15.
Then they're too into it, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
tracking flights and stuff. It's just, for me, it's too much.
Yeah, infuriating. I don't know. I said Man United have the worst fan base in the world, and I'm in it. So
You're one of them. You're one of them.
yeah.
I think that's it for Man United. Apart from the fact,
Yeah.
I have a question. One very last question. Do you want a big clear out as well? Do you think that's going to happen, or does it kind of you can't risk that if there's not going to be as many incomings as like?
It depends on the ins. Obviously, certain players do need to leave. Like Maguire needs to go. I mean, De Gea is probably not going to go, but he needs to go. There's a few on loan as well. Like Eric Bailly's going to come back, so we do need a bit of a clear out.
How much are you estimating? How much would you take for Maguire?
About 5.
I think 25 million for a Premier League team. Like I think a lower end Premier League team would be willing to pay 25 million for Maguire. I think even Newcastle, if they were interested, would pay that. So we can get money for Maguire.
The burning question last question, I suppose. Is he going to go somewhere else and become Player of the Year next season, or is he going to actually just carry?
I think.
Keep
do you know what? I'll tell you now. I don't like Maguire. I don't like Maguire. The way his attitude is, the way he, promotes himself on social media after games in which we are not good. I don't like him. I don't like anything about him. He's not a good captain, whatever. But I think if he would move to Newcastle next season, I would not be surprised to see him in the team of the season, Premier League team of the season. Because Newcastle are a system that would work for him, or like another team that fits him more. He needs to be smart about what he does next, not go to another team like us, basically. Go to a team that kind of plays to his strengths. Maybe a team that plays 3 at the back. Who knows? Like Chelsea. I know you wouldn't take him, but I think Maguire would accept. Come on, you know what Maguire was like.
Don't go there.
You pay the money. He would excel. I'm sure of it. He's not like someone I like, but I know he's a good player. I'm not an idiot. So yeah.
No, fair enough. I think that's obviously it for United. Who have you got next? But it doesn't really matter now. Your top 4's up unless something
No, it's not confirmed, Dan.
No, unless something bad happens.
Bournemouth, Fulham, and Chelsea, and we need to win 2 out of 3.
Well, you're getting 3 points at least from that because Chelsea ain't going to win another game.
You're mainly at home, though. It's your away form that's crappy, so you're fine.
It's the Bournemouth game that's the differential. I think we'll beat Fulham at home. Chelsea hopefully don't do anything to us, and then Bournemouth. We kind of next week will determine if we beat Bournemouth away from home next week. It looks very dead set on.
Moving on to Chelsea, Amir.
Let's do it.
Gone from staying up last week to Frank's out and a new manager at the next season this week.
Oh yeah, so the Nottingham Forest game. Firstly, I want to say Chelsea need a keeper, and I've said this a few months now, but we really need a keeper. Do you see that Mendy howler for the first goal? I mean, Sean Wright Phillips on Match of the Day said it was rust, but he was like that before. He just dodgy as hell. So
we're going. Wait, Mendy played yesterday.
Yeah. Mendy played, and he was at fault for the first.
What happened to Kepa?
Sure.
Oh, he's not injured. It's just dropped. That's good. I like that.
I don't know if it was or not, actually. That's good. But yeah, terrible for the first goal. Raheem Sterling 2 goals, and the second goal very well taken. Go 2-1 up, and obviously 2-2. They come back to draw the game. But the season's done. The season was done last week for us, so it's like there's no emotion there to obviously we want to win games, but there's no reason to win these games. Do you know what I mean? I mean, for Nottingham Forest had an incentive. They're in the relegation fight. They wanted it more than us, but it's more about just kind of next season now. And POCH has been announced, so I'm kind of happy that's done early on. We can just kind of go for our ways. There was I did the TikTok and there was 5 players at Chelsea or 4 players that Chelsea were linked with. Martinez goalkeeper, Declan Rice a 6, McAllister, which I was a bit booky of, and Lautaro Martinez. So I want to see what you guys think. Do you think all of them players are perfect for Chelsea, or do you think it's going to be you're just spending too much money on these players when there's alternatives and our main goal?
Bro, my first question to you regarding transfers was, who's your dream goalkeeper? Like, who would be the number one you could get if there was no limitations? And no, actually, realistic, but no limitations of money, on which you don't have anyways.
Yeah, that's a very
Available.
good question. Realistic, I think Raya's got 1 year left on his contract. Is a realistic signing. I think Emiliano Martinez also wants out of it.
I think he wants to leave, yeah.
What about Onana?
Onana as well, another one. Yeah, I forgot about Onana. I think them 3 are the 3 for us, definitely. Onana might be a bit more trickier than the other 2 because he's obviously at Inter, and if they get through to the final in the Champions League,
yeah,
they have
but
to obviously pay for it.
they probably won't win it, and they're not doing well in the league.
I think them 3
actually, I don't know.
Fit the profile. I think they're all ball playing as well, aren't they? They're all half decent with their feet.
No, Onana's definitely ball playing. Have you seen some of his clips where he's just out like in the halfway line playing about? He's good.
It's an important trait to have. So yeah, I think one of them 3 especially. The 6 we definitely need, but I think Declan Rice for 120 is way too much, which is why I'm a bit reluctant with that one. I know he's a Chelsea fan, and we've been like flirting with him. For
no,
years.
But why do you care? You've got the money.
We do, but you also
if you paid 120, what's lost?
You got to think FFP. We also got to think we're gonna have a lot of outgoings as well. I think
I think you'll be fine.
I think Lavia.
Yeah, you give him a 15-year contract with 120 million across 15 years, and he's a Chelsea fan, so he'll be fine.
I think Lavia's less of a risk, to be honest. Obviously,
Declan
Rice.
Or Everton go down, Onana.
Isn't he more
he's
8?
Good as well.
Is he more of an 8 than a 6?
Yeah, I think you need to sign midfielders full stop.
No, they don't need an 8. They're set with their Enzo for the next 10 years.
We need a sitter. Paulinho, I'd take a Paulinho if he ain't going to leave to come to our rival. He'd be a good player.
He'd be a great player.
But yeah, no. The issue with Declan Rice I've got is the 120. I don't think he's worth 120, but that's how much West Ham want to get as much possible. He's a star player, isn't he? And he's got traits.
He's worth 120.
Do you think he's got captain traits? He's got
English tax as well.
There is English tax as well, but the one I want to ask you lot about is the McAllister one. Is it just because he's leaving, you're just linked with him, and that's it? And like Chelsea and like United, Liverpool, always linked with.
Yeah, I think they've made it very obvious. Yeah, they've made it very obvious that McAllister's leaving, his agent and stuff. And Fab, when Fabrizio's involved in any deal, I think Fabrizio's now a very good promoter for players leaving. So when he says it, it's like, okay, I'm available now. So I don't even know if these teams genuinely want him. It looks like Liverpool are genuinely interested. I don't know about Chelsea.
It makes sense for Liverpool, I think. It makes sense.
Yeah, I think Liverpool should get him.
I think for us, it's if Mason Mount stays, then
it's a waste of money.
Yeah, he's a very expensive bench player to have.
I think Mount's better than McAllister in the long run. I know McAllister's got a lot of hype around him right now, but he's not that good. How much money are they quoting from?
Wasn't it over 60? I saw 60.
That's
60, that's what I mean. It's like, and then if we Conor Gallagher as well. I mean, like, I want to sell Conor Gallagher, but like, if both of them leave, it makes sense. But if one of them staying, and Mount's a starting Mount over McAllister for sure.
I think so. Long run, I know people will laugh at that just because they're overwhelmed with McAllister right now because he's on form. But Mount is not bad.
He's been good, but I don't think he's been like.
Yeah, he's not set the world alight.
Set world alight. Like I know he's good at the World Cup, won the World Cup. That's obviously going to bump him up. But yeah, and also the last one, Lautaro Martinez. I think he wants out of Inter as well, doesn't he? But I'm not too convinced on Lautaro. I thought he was dead at the World Cup. I thought he was really bad. He got dropped by.
I think that is the biggest flop of a signing waiting to happen if you get Lautaro because. Imagine you've got the biggest poachers in world football to come to Chelsea. I mean, Fernando Torres is the biggest one, and they've all flopped. Like Lautaro isn't even naturally that clinical. So I personally don't think the striker exists. There's just something. There's a juju, a curse on your number 9, and Like Haaland and who are the two best? Haaland and Kane. If they went to Chelsea, it'd be very interesting to see how many goals they get because I don't think it would be the same at all.
Do you think it's just you go there?
I
you
just think
lose
it's
the season,
cursed.
but, yeah.
It's too much. I don't know if there's pressure. I don't know what it is, but yeah.
And I don't know. It's because it's Poch and the 3 out of the 4 players we've discussed are Argentinian. It's just like people just trying to find the links there or something. But I don't entertain Lukaku over that. I think Lukaku's less of a risk than Lautaro, and doesn't
he's
Lautaro
already-
play in the
already
2 as well?
as
Isn't he
well.
more of like a
He's like a full striker. Like, yeah.
He likes to like drop in deep as well.
in the
so,
hole.
But is that maybe what you need now? Because you've tried the big centre forward with
well, we've got João
Lukaku.
Felix and Nkunku.
Oh, yeah. But no, but have you got Felix?
Well, I think they're going to extend the loan for another year. So, which
Oh,
I think is smart.
That's smart. That's
We're
smart.
just going to keep on
smart.
loaning him until.
This is how you
loan him
avoid
for his
FFP
career, yeah.
until his career. Yeah.
And I think he likes it. I mean, like, who wouldn't want to live in London? So I think that's that. But
It's rainy.
you know, come on. But like,
And there
it's-
was.
I guess with us, it's just preparing for next season and top 4 because the top 4 is on. We need to get back into top 4.
Would you take Kane? Like if Poch could
course I'd
Poch
take
works a
Kane.
magic.
Come
Yeah.
on.
No, but
Any
like, is that
game-
even what has he been linked to Chelsea? Because why would you not? Like, what? Like, why would he not be linked with Poch now at Chelsea?
I mean, he has only been there like 24 hours.
Yeah, it's been like 12 hours.
At the time of recording,
I'm sure
it's
this
less
will
than 24
happen. This will
hours.
happen. Yeah, this will happen soon. Watch.
Yeah, he'd be a lot. He'd be 100 plus as well.
He's a dream come true striker. I'm sorry, but if Man United got him, if we had him this season, like we basically played without a striker this season, we'd be in a different team.
Makes you think there would have been less of a risk to keep Ronaldo, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but just attitude reeks in it. He would have done a few more interviews by now.
But I think that covers Chelsea.
Ellen DeGeneres.
Any other questions, Chelsea?
I mean, Poch, I take it you're happy with that.
I'm happy now. I've accepted it, and I'm kind of excited as well. I mean, he is a project manager. Would you not say he's project manager?
Do you know what? Yeah, I'll tell you one thing I really like about this Poch signing, and I've grown a bit warmer to it, is that Poch is going to come into a Chelsea team. He's not going to have to compete in the Champions League. He'll actually get like a clean slate, just a shot at the Premier League. Like just play in one competition. Don't worry about others. And he'll like that. He'll build up. Hopefully they allow him to get the players he wants. Because, for example, if Chelsea were to sign Neymar tomorrow, I'm sorry, but Poch does not want Neymar. Now, I know you're not going to do that, but I'm just saying there are certain players that Poch will not want. And that's why PSG didn't really work out for him. So just let him get his own players. Let him be involved in the decision-making. Clearly, Potter was not involved in the decision-making in January. And yeah, I think 1 year to build on it. And then the season after, I think Chelsea will win the Premier League. Poch will win the Premier League. I see Chelsea winning the Premier League before Arsenal. I also see Newcastle winning the league before Arsenal in the next 5 to 10 years.
Why is that?
Unless Arsenal win it now. Unless Arsenal
What is the lack of confidence with Arsenal in like the next few seasons? You just don't think they can compete? Money, right?
Yeah.
But did they have? They were top transfer spenders last season. They did spend over 250 mil. Not this season, which was the year before.
But they're also going to need to spend more. Again, the squad that they've assembled, they've pushed City.
It's a young squad. It's a good squad, but I think, do you know when a squad just does everything it possibly can in a season and doesn't come out with anything, which is what might happen this season for them? I think they'll just be done after that. And they've got champions. The issue is Arsenal are not a European club. They're not. They're not. So the moment they have to play in the Champions League and they're getting battered by Bayern 4-0 1 week, it's just going to affect them in the league.
I mean, with all due respect, Arsenal flop in Europe every year. They've never won the Europa League.
Make no mistake, Arsenal are a number. They're a number and side piece in the Champions League next season. They're not actually competing. They're just there. They're number one. They're number two.
In the Europa League, a club that big, not winning the Europa League ever, and they've been in it in so many seasons consecutively. Like, come on, they flop in Europe. Like, they should have won.
Like next year's Champions League lineup is actually dead from the Premier League. It's just Man City. And if it ends up being the 4 it is now, it's quite literally just Man City. I don't see Man United winning.
Group stage
exit. So it's actually a fall off for the Premier League. It might just be the first time we see every team except Man City.
Well, Newcastle. If Newcastle, because they're going to have their way around FFP, aren't they? Because now they're going to have actual assets in the club to sell, plus Premier League money. They're going to have money to spend.
I just think it's a little too soon for them to be.
All right, I'll give you another one. I think Newcastle will progress further in the Champions League than Arsenal next season. I'm not even trying to fake that.
Provided they qualify.
They will, and it's in Arsenal's DNA, the Champions League. It's just never going to happen, and that's why they're not really the biggest of clubs, are they? Yeah.
The 10-2 on aggregate buy, and like.
Yeah, all of that will happen. It's an embarrassment for England as well. I actually feel ashamed watching a team like Arsenal play in the Champions League. I'm not even joking because you want like English teams to show some fight, and Arsenal have let England down so much in that competition. So it's unfortunate.
Since Saka's DNA, he's doing it again in the Champions League this time.
Sure, he'll miss a pen against Bayern.
I kind of agree with you. And Arsenal fans obviously going to be like, oh, but we're the biggest club, and like, you haven't won the Champions League, you're not going to be that. So yeah, no, I agree with you. Should we go on to the Champions League?
I was going to say on the last week of football, I suppose you've had the playoffs and the Champions League.
The Real Man City game.
Vinny right now is probably the best player in the world. Right this second.
I was going to say, he's a scary player. Like he's so direct and
future Ballon d'Or winner.
Yeah. Yeah, no. He can. He's capable.
And whoever signed him, was it whoever scouted him, whoever signed him, Florentino Perez? Do you remember when they signed him that first season? Benzema said it was one of the Champions League.
He's playing against us.
He's playing against us. Yeah, he said like he's not good. And then that season after, that guy's been
cooking ever since.
How old is Vinny?
I'm saying 22, 23, if that.
21, 22, 23. Young guy.
Let me check. He's 22. Okay, there's a good chance Vinicius might end up being this generation's Mbappe. Sorry. Vinicius might end up being this year's Neymar. Like, it might just be a case of Mbappe and Haaland might excel, win the Ballon d'Ors, and Vinicius will just be there and not end up with anything. Yeah, like, do you know, like, how Neymar is so, like, beautiful to watch, but there's not much at the end of it in terms of, like, he could succeed so much more. And Vinny might be that player who's just beautiful, incredible to watch, incredible skills, just great player all round, but in the end, Mbappe and Haaland take all the accolades. So it could be like that. I don't know.
Wow, I never thought of it. That's quite a cool way of looking. Yeah. I don't want it to happen because I love Vinny. Like, Vinny just...
I was going to say, did you as well, with, as you said, touched on last week, like between the Milan teams, it's a case of that the Madrid City game is the final. So it's almost... Do you reckon the players know like that this one is a two-legged final, basically?
I don't think so.
Nah, absolutely. I can't think like that.
One-off game in the Champions League final, anything happens. We saw Liverpool against that.
Team. I feel like Man City players thought that when they played Chelsea and they lost. So,
maybe. Yeah,
you can't do that.
Yeah. Did anyone watch the Milan game? Maybe not.
Yeah, I watched the first half. Very good game. Yeah,
I did think it was a good game as well. I was going to say AC were quite unlucky and they hit the post a couple of times, but that you can't start a game like that. They could have been 5 or 6 down in the first 40 minutes. You can't start.
There's some players that really impressed me, like the Salamakis guy. He came in for Leao, I think. I thought he was really good. Barella is a dream come true number 8. He is. I think he goes Frankie De Jong in terms of ball carrying and like just first drop of the shoulder, first phase play, and then it goes Barella. He's so good, but he's too like expensive. I think he won't come to us. And if they win the UCL, then why would he?
I really like that video of the Milan Ultras talking to all the players and the manager as well.
Yeah, that was the weekend.
Respect, isn't there?
That was just That was
because they lost 2-0 to like someone that's like 19th in the table or something.
There's a lot of respect there, and then Napoli also won the Scudetto, didn't they? They did win that. So I just saw a lot.
Anyone watch me going on to the EFL? Anyone watch the playoffs?
I watched a bit of the.
Did you watch the National League one?
No.
The Notts County.
Yeah, Notts County. Yeah.
That guy penalty. I saw that penalty.
Penalty, and they deserved it. 107 points.
Yeah, they deserved to go up. But why are you trying to chip it? Like, imagine if they'd have lost. He looked like an idiot.
Nah, that's fine.
Sunderland picking up a big 2-1 win yesterday. Scenes.
It'll be good.
Is Diola going to get the Young Player of the Year for the championship, or is that been announced?
No, I'm pretty sure it's going to be announced.
Was it Scott? Something Scott, right?
Yeah,
Scott Hogan.
Alex Scott, the Bristol City one, yeah. Scott Hogan. He's about 50 years old.
Had the name.
Should have been Pedro, but that's an argument for another day. But yeah, no, I think that's it. Obviously, we're going to play our finals, whatever, next weekend. Not that anyone cares about the EFL.
I do want Sunderland back in it, though. Big club, very big club.
I wouldn't mind giving Sunderland Diola another season if he comes to the Prem. Like, if Sunderland get promoted, keep getting him for another season, get his experience. The manager's managing him quite well.
Yeah. Do you reckon Sunderland will get the Prem money and try and buy him? Do you reckon you'd be willing to sell?
You know, we signed him for 40 million.
I know. But do you reckon
it would cost 80 million?
Stupid that the owners would do just to get some money back into the club?
And we wouldn't
take
sell
out before they sell it. No, the owners before they sell it.
I did have one more question as well before we go. The teams that are looking to be relegated, obviously Southampton's done now. From them teams in the relegation, who would you lot take? Let's say like there's 1 or 2 players from each of them, like one of their teams. Who would you take?
Who would I
that could
take?
actually-
Anyone.
Who would improve your team from, like, let's say the Leeds, the Leicesters, the Southamptons? Who would you lot want?
I think from a Premier League
There
point of
isn't.
view, you'd be looking at like your Madisons, your Tielemans. Obviously,
Yeah, Tielemans is going to get picked up straight away if they get relegated, and then
Lavia.
Madison's an issue. I think Madison should go to Arsenal, not Man United, because we've got Bruno Fernandes, and I
I
think
heard
we'll be looking
Newcastle
for.
want him as well.
Yeah,
I think
Newcastle.
Oh,
That'd be a
That's
good
very good
midfield. Yeah, but it's packed though, isn't it? If you think of Newcastle's midfield though, if providing their sign Madison.
yeah.
It's
Who
Also,
quite
else?
packed.
I can see Rodrigo. If Leeds get relegated, I can see Rodrigo going to like a lower end Premier League team at the very least.
A team that
Oh.
stays up like a Forest or a West Ham or something.
Yeah, he won't play in the
But
Championship.
you think if obviously West Ham get 100 and whatever million for Rice and one of them teams go down, West Ham could just raid them because they're going to have obviously the money for it. But
West
see,
Ham can West Ham be relegated? They can,
No.
but
No,
it's-
they can, but
they
it's
can't.
I
very...
think but they're like some weird like system needs to
They're
happen.
another team. I think if Man City get out of the chance, they're the only other team, West Ham, that could actually win a European trophy for from the Prem. So
Yeah, because
do you know they've literally been? Haven't they just won? They've been unbeaten like in that
Yeah.
competition.
Yeah,
They've been brilliant, and Rice's
played
goal
very
was
well the
really
other
good.
day. I played really
Yeah.
well the other day.
Paqueta,
Carrying the ball. Not many players have that ability.
I think-
at the number 8.
I think that's it from Chavez is just loving Declan Rice. Anything else? Or I think we're done here. Is that it?
we're done. No, we did the
Yeah, we're done. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the episode. And until next week, when United and Chelsea probably pick out some random results again. That's it. We're done.